Peasant Productions presents the mathematics of ESP, why it works even if you don't believe in it. Okay, discussing the phase 2 of the International Space Station, the reason why I would be bringing much more young adults, young kids, teenagers and stuff, into the handling of the matters, into the decisions. Like I said in these previous ones, when you got old people doing stuff, 90% of them, including me, are going to be thinking about something in the past. It was so much better back when. Okay, well whenever back when was. By the way, this coughing. Like I said, there's a mold thing in here. Yesterday I picked up some papers, moved something, a pair of headphones I'd been using, like 2 months ago, covered in mold, right there next to where I'm sitting. That's what I say. It's not toxic, but it's definitely not nice to the lungs. But anyway, you adjust and adapt. Okay, you deal with what's going on. When you are a young person, you do something because you don't have all that negative feedback in your system. When you spend 40, 50, 60 years listening to people say there's only one way to do something, you got 40, 50, 60 years of wrongful teaching to undo. Okay? So you're not going to think about this stuff. You're going to be thinking about, but my person that told me to do it this way. Okay? It doesn't matter whether it was a clergy, it was a corporation, it was a school teacher, whatever. You have just shut down the idea of going out and investigating what you need to actually do something. Okay? You look around your world right now, and it's the young people that are doing things and getting upset because they have no future, they have no jobs, they have the educations that they're getting are so pathetic that they're realizing, why are you teaching me to study all this stuff that doesn't matter, that's a bunch of lies, it's a bunch of propaganda. You're doing the opposite of what you're telling me you're doing because it's that obvious. I mean, Donald Trump has been in office for a little over a year, we're what, 14 months now. And the guy has broken absolutely every single campaign promise he made, every campaign pledge he made, every campaign idiom he made, he's lied about, okay? And for those of you that are all hurrahing about the idea of Apple's coming back to America, keep in mind that it took Apple about 10 years to move their operations to China. In order to move their operations back here to America, to the United States alone, yeah, they're going to take 10 years to do it. Because they're going to have to build factories, they're going to have to train workers, they're going to have to find, peasant workers, people who are going to work for a couple of pennies an hour. And then they can be marketing and doing what they're doing when they're using China. Until then, you were just fed a pack of lies that get you to think that they're doing something for you, so you don't stop to look and see how badly your world's getting screwed over. Okay? And for those of you that don't think that Fukushima is of any concern, let's knock down one of the first lies first of all, okay? People all over the internet are running around saying that, they knew about the earthquake and they went in there and they took all the fuel out and moved it the day before. Okay, that person has no knowledge of a nuclear reactor. A nuclear reactor takes 2 weeks to cool down enough to get near it with a robot to pull that fuel out. Okay? So there's no shutting it down and the next day pulling the rods out and throwing them on a flatbed and running them out of town. The fuel takes 14 days, 10 to 14 days to cool enough to take out of the reactor core. It then has to spend, and I believe I mentioned this in another one, about 10 years in a cooling pond. Now, Fukushima had 4 reactors going, or 4 reactor buildings, I should say. I think only 3 of them were actually in operation. All three of those have melted through their containment vessels. The reactor cores have melted down into the land itself, the landscape. It's thousands of feet down now into the earth. There's absolutely no way any human being is going to dig down there and put a thumbnail and a paper clip on it and keep it contained. Okay. You are dealing with 4 cooling ponds that were on the top floor of each of those, 40, 50, I think in one case somebody said they were almost 100-foot tall buildings. They were 4 to 6 floors tall at least, which would put it somewhere in the 50 to 80-foot department. All of those cooling ponds collapsed. All of those cooling ponds spilt their loads, which means however much radioactive waste material they had is now spilt all over the place, and there's again no containment. So stop listening to the BS about how Fukushima couldn't happen and it's not real and it's all fake, and go pick up a frickin' piece of nuclear reactor material somewhere and understand what the heck a nuclear reactor is and how it does it and why so much of a problem is in your nuclear fuel department and power supply company, because they were only interested in building bombs and they didn't care how much they polluted. So they don't care the fact that you've got 300 or 400 nuclear reactors around the world between Russia, China, European nations, America, Japan, all over the place. Even Israel's got a nuclear reactor, as far as I know. Okay, and all of those places have cooling ponds that are too full. They're 200, 300% overstocked, which means any one of them is an immediate meltdown pile. Okay, so you better think about the logics of listening to people say, "Oh, don't think about that. Don't look." It's like that song back when I was in high school about the streaker, a nude person running through a crowd. "Oh, Ethel, don't look at the streaker." Yeah, that's what your government's telling you to do about things that concern your health and welfare. That's what Trump supporters are doing. That shows you how well the watered down lack of intelligence coming from the top of the barrel, all that garbage floating at the top of the barrel there, the 1% elite rich hand-me-down crap. Okay, of how you don't ever question the government, you don't ever question church, you don't ever talk about church and government at the same time, because we don't want to expose the fact that they're both the same. You don't want to talk about politics, you don't want to talk about how bad the environment is. And of course, if it's fake news, you immediately flush it down the drain and don't look at it, because if your favorite person declared it fake, it's got to be fake. It isn't worth the time and incentive to look. Now, if you're a kid and you've only got 4 years in a government system, and then you're going to be replaced by somebody behind you, somebody younger than you, you're going to be thinking about the fact that you got to go out into that world and live in it. So you're not going to vote for extremely polluted systems. You're not going to let a Donald Trump come in as president and literally put the FCC in the hands of the corporate media that wants complete control of it. You're not the same as Goebbels did for Hitler, by the way. You don't want the chemical corporations and the pharmaceutical corporations in charge of what's allowed to be tested in your food, in your water, in your air, do you? No, because they're going to lie for themselves. They're going to lie to keep their profits up. You don't want the banking industry deciding who should make rules on the banking industry, because, again, they're going to do things to rig it so that they make a profit. That's the only logical business thing to do, isn't it? And if you lie, cheat, and steal because you're a 70-year-old man and you don't really give a fart about your grandson, then yeah, you're going to lie, cheat, and steal. And that's all you're going to do, and that's all you know, and that's all you've done all your life, so you're contaminated. Now, if you're a 17, 18-year-old kid, you might listen to what those people have to say and learn from it and see the wisdom of it. But they're not the ones that actually make the rules. You are. You're the kid that's got to live with your decisions. You're the one that's going to get married and bring kids into the world based on your decisions. So yeah, there's a very big wrong in telling people that little kids and teenagers can't make decisions. Only elders should make the decisions. Only people who have been politicians for 50 years should be allowed to decide anything. Only lawyers should be allowed to look at what law is and what law is written. Only police officers should be allowed to look at themselves and decide whether or not they're corrupt. You have to have somebody look on the outside. To say no to that is saying you definitely believe in censorship, which is not freedom in any way, shape, or form.